This is the 2026 Guy McChands 74. It is my projected top 74 players for the upcoming MLB season. This is a projection for only 2026. It doesn't matter what you do in 2027, 2028. It is only for what I think will happen in the 2026 season. The stats from 2025 are included. They're a good baseline, but it's not based on the performance from 2025. The websites I used were Baseball Savant, Baseball Reference, FanGraphs, and MLB.com to make the slides and to come up with my projections. Now, that being said, let's start with number 74. At 74, I've got outfielder for the Milwaukee Brewers, Jackson Chourio. In 2025, he had a 270 batting average, a really low 308 on base, and a 463 slugging for a 770 OPS and a WRC plus of 111. He also hit 21 homers, 35 doubles, stole 21 bases, and he played in 131 games. He had an F WAR of 2.9 and a B WAR of 2.2. That being said, he is one of the brightest young stars in this game. He's only going to be 22 next year, and he's got the potential to be a top 10 player. I haven't seen from him that he will be a top 10 player in 2026. That's why he's here at 74. He has great bat speed. If he can increase his barrel rates, which are about league average, a little bit above league average, that will increase his hard hit rate and he'll hit more homers. His profile of chasing a lot is okay as long as you can hit the ball hard and continuously barrel the ball. Overall, Jackson Chourio is a great player with a lot of room to grow, and I believe he will be the 74th best player in 2026. At 73, I've got third baseman for the New York Mets, Bo Bichette. In 2025, he batted .311 with a .357 on base, 483 slug for an OPS of 840, and WRC plus of 134. He had 18 homers, 44 doubles, and 139 games. He had a 3.9 F WAR and a 3.5 B WAR. Bo Bichette in 2025 bounced back from a bad 2024 that was riddled with injuries and a 70 WRC plus. He went back to what he's been throughout his career. Bichette does not strike out very much, does not swing and miss. But my main worry with Bichette is he chases a lot, and you can see a decline. If his contact rate goes down at all, I could see a huge decline offensively. Defensively, he's never been great. Last year, he had a negative 13 outs above average, which was first percentile. So one of the worst defenders in baseball. He is moving over to third. He will have Lindor over to his left, so I think defensively, it won't be as big of an issue. I do think he's still going to be very good. That's why I still have him on this list down at 73. At 72, I've got DH for the Tampa Bay Rays, Yandy Diaz. In 2025, he had a batting average of 300, an on-base percentage of 366, and a slug of 482 for an OPS of 848, and that gave him a WRC plus of 135. He had 25 homers, 29 doubles, in 150 games, giving him an F WAR of 2.9 and a B WAR of 3.4. Yandy Diaz has had a great baseball savant page, and he's been one of the best hitters or better hitters in baseball over the last 6 years. His savant page has been mostly red. It hasn't changed much each year. He hits the ball hard. He has great bat speed. He doesn't chase. He doesn't swing and miss, so he doesn't strike out very much. And this has been the thing with him for many years. I believe he will continue to be a great hitter. I could see a slight downturn in his performance because they're leaving from they're leaving Steinbrenner Field and they're going back to Tropicana, which is not going to be as easy for him to hit in. Overall, though, I still think Yandy Diaz is one of the better hitters in the game, and that's why he's here at 72. At 71, I've got starting pitcher for the New York Yankees, Max Fried. In 2025, he had a 2.86 ERA, 189 strikeouts, a 1.1 WHIP, a 3.07 FIP, and a 142 ERA plus, and 195 and one-third innings pitched. This was his first year on the Yankees, and he finished fourth in Cy Young voting in the AL, which is pretty impressive. He had a F WAR of 4.8, a B WAR of 4.4, so both very good numbers there. His best ability, Max Fried's best ability, is to keep the ball on the ground, 89th percentile ground ball rate, and limit hard hits, 92nd percentile on average exit velo. He keeps the ball on the ground, soft contact. Also, he has a great arsenal of pitches. He had 0 pitches with a negative run value in 2025, which is really, really impressive. His cutter had a 12, his sinker had a 4, so a good 2 different types of fastballs that move, helping him keep the ball on the ground. Overall, he's a great pitcher. I see him continuing to do great things in 2026 for the New York Yankees. At number 70, I've got catcher for the Athletics, Shea Langeliers. In 2025, he had a 277 batting average, 325 on base, 536 slugging percentage for an 861 OPS, and a WRC plus of 132. He hit 31 homers, 32 doubles in 123 games. Shea Langeliers has been one of the better offensive catchers in baseball. This was the second straight year of elite offense. He had a 3.9 F WAR and B WAR. Defensively, he's not the greatest defensive catcher, but his pop time is 91st percentile, which allows him to catch runners stealing at a really high rate. His framing is not the best, but with the ABS system coming in, you should hope that it's not going to be as big of a problem. His bat speed is really high. He barrels the ball really, really well, which allows him to be in the top 8 percentile in max exit velo in the MLB last year. His pulled air rate was 21.9%, which means he pulls the ball in the air at a really high rate, which allowed him to hit 31 homers. It's the most efficient way to hit home runs. He's a great offensive player, even if he wasn't a catcher, but him being a catcher makes him that much more valuable. So that's why I've got Shea Langeliers at number 70. At number 69, I've got starting pitcher for the Texas Rangers, Nathan Eovaldi. In 2025, he had a 1.73 ERA, 129 strikeouts, a 2.8 FIP, a .85 WHIP, an ERA plus of 211 in 130 innings pitched. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball last year before his shoulder injury. That's why he only pitched 130 innings. He had a 3.7 F4, a 4.3 B WAR in only 130 innings is super impressive. 1.73 ERA is crazy. 211 ERA plus is insane. That's 111% better than league average. So the one worry with him is his age and his injury history, but his baseball savant page was insane. He was 98th percentile walk rate. He was 75th percentile strikeout rate, which is something that I feel like can carry over year to year. He kept the ball on the ground. He still throws the ball really hard. I do understand he's going into his age 36 season, but I firmly believe he will continue to be one of the top pitchers in baseball. At 68, I've got center fielder for the Chicago Cubs, Pete Crow Armstrong. In 2025, he had a batting average of 247, on base at 287, and a slug of 481 for an OPS of 768, giving him a WRC plus of 109. He hit 31 homers, 35 stolen bases, 37 doubles in 157 games, giving him an F4 of 5.4 and a B WAR of 6.0. My main worry with Pete Crow Armstrong and why he's much lower than most lists is he chases a lot, and that was in the second percentile, and then he walks a lot, which was in the fourth percentile, which caused him to slump in the second half. He had an 846 OPS in the first half, a 634 OPS in the second half. Now, I will say, he's the best defensive center fielder in baseball, outs above average at 24, which was 100th percentile. His base running was elite, 96th percentile. I just am worried that this is his ceiling. His high chase, low no walk rate, and he swings and misses a lot, and he strikes out a lot. There's a lot of holes in his offensive game, which had people worried before the 2025 season, and that continues to make me worried going forward. I'm thinking he's young. He's got a chance to improve that stuff, but I could see a massive decline in production in 2026 compared to his 2025 stats. That's why Pete Armstrong's at 68. At 67, I've got left fielder for the Athletics, Tyler Soderstrom. In 2025, he had a 276 batting average, 346 on base for a 474 slug and an OPS of 820, which gave him a WRC plus of 125. He had 25 homers, 34 doubles in 158 games. He had a really hot start last year, being like the league leader in home runs early on. He hits the ball fairly hard, 86th percentile in hard hit rate. His bat speed allows for that. He's about average in the strikeout rate, walk rate, chase rate, whiff rate stuff. When he moved out, he ended the year with a 0 OAA, but he had a 5 in left field. So Soderstrom is a great defender in left. He's shown that he's a great hitter all year round. His savant page shows that. So I believe with age and improvements, he could be a 30-plus homer, 900 OPS guy in 2026. This is why Tyler Soderstrom is at 67. At 66, I've got right fielder for the Los Angeles Angels, Mike Trout. In 2025, he had a 232 batting average, a 359 on base, a 439 slug for a 797 OPS, and a WRC plus of 120. He hit 26 homers, 14 doubles in 130 games, giving him an F4 of 1.8 and a BOR of 1.5. He played DH a lot last year. I'm under the assumption he will move to right field if he can stay healthy, with Jorge Soler playing more DH. For a normal person, 120 WRC plus is very good. For Mike Trout, not so much. He was one of the best players in baseball, one of the best players ever for a long time, and injuries have gotten the better of him throughout his career. 2025 was one of the first years he was relatively healthy, and I don't think he'll ever get back to the greatest players in the league level, but I still think he's got something else there that's more than what he showed last year. He was still 85th percentile in hard hit rate, 93rd percentile in barrel rate, 92nd in chase rate, and 98th in walk rate. So he's got a good enough approach. He can still see the ball. He still barrels the ball up. He's still got good bat speed. You did see his dip in performance due to a rise in strikeout rate and a rise in whiff rate, but I'm betting on the fact that one of the best players in the history of this game is going to bounce back and have another great year. At number 65, I've got left fielder for the Detroit Tigers, Riley Green. He had a 258 batting average, a 313 on base, and a 493 slugging for an OPS of 806 and WRC plus of 121 in the year of 2025. He had 36 homers, 31 doubles, and 157 games. He had an F4 of 2.9 and a B WAR of 2.2. Riley Green has an interesting profile as a hitter. He strikes out a lot, and he hits the ball hard though. He has bat speed in 92nd percentile, barrel rate in the 95th, so his hard hit rate was in the 61st percentile. So he's a very great hitter. This was his third straight year with a WRC plus of 119 or higher, his second straight year with an OPS 800 or higher. So he's just been a consistent, great hitter the last couple years. Yes, his K rate was 4th percentile, and he had 201 strikeouts in 2025, but I still think overall he's a great hitter, and you would like this guy in your lineup. At number 64, I've got starting pitcher for the Seattle Mariners, Logan Gilbert. In 2025, he had a 3.44 ERA, a 3.35 FIP, a 1.03 WHIP, an ERA plus of 110, and 131 innings pitched, giving him a 2.6 F4 and a 2.1 B WAR. Gilbert strikes people out at a high rate, doesn't walk people, gets a lot of swings and misses. His average fastball velo was 95.4 miles per hour, but it plays up because of a 100th percentile extension. He's a very tall pitcher. His fastball had a run value of 7. His splitter was his best off-speed offering with a run value of 3. So he has a great arsenal of pitches. He throws hard, doesn't walk people. That's what I love about pitchers. The best pitchers limit walks and strike out a lot of people, and he's one of the best in the game at that. At 63, I've got outfielder / first baseman for the New York Yankees, Cody Bellinger. In 2025, he had a 272 batting average, 334 on base, a 480 slug for an OPS of 813 and a WRC plus of 125. He hit 29 homers, 25 doubles, and 152 games, and an F4 of 4.9 and a B WAR of 5.1. Bellinger just signed an extension, or re-signed with the Yankees as I'm recording this. He had a great 2025, and that's largely due to the fact that Yankee Stadium is perfect for a swing. So I love for him that he stayed in New York. His pulled air percentage was 24.7%, which is elite, and that allowed him to hit a lot of home runs on that short porch. He doesn't strike out very much. He was 91st percentile on that. He doesn't really swing and miss. He was 84th percentile in whiff rate. So he's got a good approach. He can pull the ball, and he plays elite defense overall. Cody Bellinger is a very great player, and he's going to be great for the Yankees, and that's why I have him at 63. At 62, I've got first baseman for the Tampa Bay Rays, Jonathan Aranda. In 2025, he batted .316 with a 393 on base, 489 slug, for an OPS of 883 and a WRC plus of 146. He had 14 homers, 22 doubles in just 106 games. He had a 2.5 F4 and a 3.5 B WAR. Aranda's savant page looks elite. He's got red all over. His hard hit rate was 96th percentile. His barrel rate was 80th percentile. He pulls the ball at a 24.1% clip as well. So he can hit homers because he pulls the ball in the air. He hits the ball hard. My main concern with him is that he doesn't necessarily swing the bat hard. It's 23rd percentile, and his BABIP was 409. No player can sustain a 409 BABIP, so I'm expecting his production to go down a little bit. Plus, they're leaving the spring training facility, which I can see a downturn in that. I still believe Aranda could be an 800 OPS guy, hit 20 homers in a full season. I just like to see another year of that once his BABIP gets lowered back to something sustainable for me to rank him any higher. At 61, I've got shortstop for the Philadelphia Phillies, Trey Turner. In 2025, he batted .304 with an on-base of 355, a slug of 457, for an OPS of 812 and a WRC plus of 125. He had 15 homers, 31 doubles. He stole 36 bases in 141 games. He had a 6.7 F4 and a 5.4 B WAR. This is the main example on this list of a projection and not being based on previous results. He's getting older. His speed is still elite. Last year was really weird because he had a 17 outs above average after being a bad defender his whole career. And defensive stats aren't always sustainable. They're not always accurate. And I don't know that he will do that again next year. His peripherals on Baseball Savant have never looked elite. Last year, he was 22nd percentile in barrel rate, 44th percentile in hard hit rate. He's getting older, and I just have a feeling that maybe a decline could be coming, but I could be very wrong here. This is my projection for Trey Turner in 2026. At number 60, I've got third baseman for the Kansas City Royals, Maikel Garcia. In 2025, he batted .286 with a 351 on base, 449 slug for an OPS of 800 and a WRC plus of 121. He had 16 homers, 39 doubles in 160 games, a 5.6 F4 and a 5.8 B WAR. Garcia had always shown the potential. His Baseball Savant page always showed that he can hit the ball hard. He just needed to gain the ability to hit the ball in the air. And he was able to do that this past year. He's always had a really good approach. He was 91st percentile on chase rate, so he doesn't chase, which gives him the ability to walk a little bit, but he also doesn't swing and miss, so he doesn't strike out. His strikeout percentile was 93rd percentile. His average exit velo was 59th percentile, so he's a great hitter all around now, and he's an elite defensive third baseman. He had a fielding run value on StatCast of 13, which was 97th percentile in the MLB, and he finally proved that he can hit, and he's still young, has a lot of room to grow, and I believe Miguel Garcia will continue to do what he did in 2025. At number 59, I've got shortstop for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Geraldo Perdomo. In 2025, he batted .290 with an on base of .389, a slug of .462, and an OPS of .851 for a WRC plus of .138. He had 20 homers, 33 doubles in 161 games, a 7.1 FWAR, and a 7 BWAR. Perdomo had a crazy breakout year in 2025. He was one of the best players in 2025, and part of his improvement was his pulled air rate went from 15.1% to 19.9%. His hard hit rate went up by 6.1%, and his barrel rate went up by 3.1%. But it still wasn't these elite barrel rates: 25th percentile barrel rate, 11th percentile hard hit rate, and 7th percentile in bat speed. So it doesn't really hit the ball all that hard, which makes me worried about his ability to continue what he did. He does have one of the most elite approaches in the game. He doesn't swing and miss. He doesn't chase, which means he walks and doesn't strike out. To me, 2025 is the ceiling with a player like Geraldo Perdomo. But I would like to see one more year of Perdomo performing at a high level for me to rank him higher. I do think Perdomo could become like a Jose Ramirez if he continues to show this production over the years. But in 2026, I'm a little bit more cautious than others. That's why Perdomo is at number 59. At number 58, I've got starting pitcher for the Kansas City Royals, Cole Ragans. In 2025, he had a weird year with an ERA of 4.67, a FIP of 2.5, a WHIP of 1.184, an ERA plus of only 88 and 61.2 innings. His FWAR was 2.1, and his BWAR was 0.2. And a large part of that is BWAR is based on ERA, FWAR is based on FIP, and I like FWAR more for projecting and FIP more for projecting. His FIP showed that he was 2 runs better than his ERA. His BABIP, the BABIP, was 357, which is so unlucky for him, while the MLB average is 292. And he has had some of the most elite stuff in the game. He was 100th percentile K rate, 95th percentile in whiff rate, and 68th in chase rate. He strikes people out. He walks a decent amount, but it's about average. He doesn't allow many hard hits. Going into 2025, I had Ragans as a top 10 pitcher in the game. 2026, I believe he will be close to that as well. He didn't show any reason why I wouldn't believe in him. So for 2026, I have Cole Ragans at 58. At number 57, I've got shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds, Elly De La Cruz. In 2025, he batted .264, on base of .336, a slug of .440 for an OPS of .777, and a WRC plus of .109. He had 22 homers, 31 doubles, 7 triples, and played all 162 games. He had an FWAR of 4.3 and a BWAR of 3.6. Elly dropped his K rate by 5.4% in 2025, which is a great sign. But the K rate seemed to also come with a drop in barrel rate and hard hit rate. His hard hit rate dropped by 1.5, and his barrel rate dropped by 2.5%. He was still 84th percentile in bat speed. His barrel rate was still 60th percentile. He still hits the ball hard, and he doesn't strike out as much anymore. So if he can keep that K rate down and get his barrel rates back up to his 2024 numbers, he can be a top 10 or even 5 player in the game. But right now, he hasn't shown that he's going to do that. That's why Elly De La Cruz is at 57. At 56, I got second baseman for the New York Yankees, Jazz Chisholm Jr. In 2025, he had a .242 batting average, a .332 on base, .481 slug for .813 OPS, and a WRC plus of .126. He had 31 homers, 15 doubles in 130 games, giving him a 4.4 FWAR and a 4.2 BWAR. Jazz is an .816 OPS since getting traded to the Yankees, and he's so good in New York because his pulled air rate is elite at a 24.5% that allowed him to hit 31 homers with that short porch and right. Jazz also has a good eye. He walks at 78th percentile. His barrel rate's 91st percentile. His bat speed is 76th percentile. So he can hit the ball hard because of his barrel, and he's proven to be a great base runner. He's proven to be a great fielder. He's an all-around very great player. And Jazz Chisholm, I have him at 56 for the upcoming season. At 55, I've got center fielder for San Diego Padres, Jackson Merrill. In 2025, he had a .264 batting average, a .317 on base, and a .457 slug for an OPS of .774 and a WRC plus of .116. He had 16 homers, 25 doubles, and 115 games. He had an FWAR of 3.0 and a BWAR of 2.7. 2025 was not as good as his .826 OPS and 24 homers in 2024, but Merrill got injured and did not play as many games. In 2025, he was still a pretty elite defender. His barrel rate was still in the 82nd percentile. I think if Merrill is fully healthy, we can see an 800 OPS guy with his elite defense. Well, 2025 was not the best season. It's not a bad season, and I think he's young and he can still grow from 2024. I can see him getting back to those levels, if not further than that, in 2026. At number 54, I've got starting pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, Spencer Schwellenbach. In 2025, he had a 3.09 ERA, a 3.25 FIP, a .967 WHIP, a 134 ERA plus, and 110.2 innings. He had an F-WAR of 2.6 and a B-WAR of 2.2. Schwellenbach's season was ended early due to a fracture in his elbow, so that is worrying. But in his MLB career, he has an ERA plus of 129 in 234.1 innings. His savant page looks elite. He doesn't walk anybody. He strikes people out at a decent clip. He gets swings and misses. He keeps the ball on the ground. He gets people to chase. He throws really hard, 86th percentile in fastball velo and 87th percentile in extension. So he's got one of the hardest fastballs to hit in the game. Schwellenbach is one of the best young pitchers in the game. I think if he can stay healthy, he could be a Cy Young candidate or winner. It's going to be tough to win with Paul Skeens in the NL and Yamamoto and among other names as well. But Schwellenbach, I think, is one of the brightest young pitchers in the game, and he's one of my picks to break out. And that's why I got him at 54, and I think he could be even better. At 53, I've got first baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Freddie Freeman. In 2025, he batted .295 with a .367 on base, .502 slug for an OPS of .869, and a WRC plus of .139. He had 24 homers, 39 doubles, and 147 games. This gave him a 3.9 F-WAR and a 3.5 B-WAR. Freeman will be 36 next season. Going with the aging curve, I think he will decline. He has been declining. This is not the peak of Freddie Freeman. I think there will be more of a decline than there's been. His barrel rate was still 63rd percentile. Hard hit rate was still 62nd. His walk rate was 67th. His average exit velo was 70th percentile. There isn't necessarily an obvious sign that he's going to get worse, but he's getting older, and his savant page doesn't look as elite as it has in the past. So for me, personally, I've got Freddie Freeman at number 53. At 52, I've got designated hitter for the Toronto Blue Jays, George Springer. In 2025, he had a crazy bounce back year, batting .309 with a .399 on base, .560 slug for a .959 OPS and a WRC plus of 166. He hit 32 homers in 140 games, and he also hit 27 doubles. He had a great bounce back year after his .732 OPS in 2023 and .674 OPS in 2024. This year, he had an F-WAR of 5.2 and a B-WAR of 4.8. His barrel rate skyrocketed back into the 94th percentile. He didn't chase. He walked. He hit the ball hard. And I think in large part due to that, he had 1.9 miles per hour in his bat speed. He stayed healthy. But I do worry about it. He had a very good season, but it's his first good season since 2022. And his BABIP was 340. His career average is 298. 340 is a high BABIP, not really sustainable. I believe going into his age 36 season, he will still be good because he showed me that his bat speed increased and he can hit the ball hard again, but he's older and I don't know that he's going to repeat what he did in 2025. I still think he will be good again in 2026. At number 51, I've got third baseman for the San Francisco Giants, Matt Chapman. In 2025, he batted .231 with an on-base of 340, a slug of 430, and an OPS of 770 for a WRC plus of 118. He had 21 homers, 23 doubles, in 128 games. His F-WAR was 3.7 and his B-WAR was 4.1. Chapman's been one of the best defensive third basemen in the league since he came into the league. His OAA was 4 last year, which was 87th percentile. His DRS was 5, so he continues to be an elite defender. His bat speed was 80th percentile. That aided his 70th percentile hard hit rate and 90th percentile exit velo. He has been a great hitter and a great defender. He doesn't chase, so he walks. And his pulled air rate was a 19.9%, which is good. That's why he hit 21 homers. He plays in a tough stadium to hit, and he's been a great hitter. He's a great defender. I've got Matt Chapman at 51. At number 50, I've got catcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, Alejandro Kirk. In 2025, he batted .282 with an on-base of 348, a slug of 421 for an OPS of 769, and a WRC plus of 116. He had 15 homers, 18 doubles, in 130 games. He had a 4.7 F-WAR and a 2.3 B-WAR. A huge reason why that WAR is a difference. The difference is so big is because framing is in the F-WAR formula, but not in the B-WAR formula. And Kirk was 98th percentile in framing. He was 100th percentile in blocks above average. His StatCast fielding run value was 22, which was 100th percentile. So he was one of, if not the best defensive catchers in baseball. Well, Patrick Bailey is the best defensive catcher, but Kirk is very good defensively. And last year, offensively, he had a 116 WRC plus. When you add those two things together, elite defensive catcher, above average offense, that makes you one of the better players in the game because a good offensive catcher is hard to come by. He doesn't strike out, he doesn't swing and miss, and he still hit the ball hard at the 91st percentile hard hit rate. So Alejandro Kirk is an all-around great player going into 2026. At 49, I've got catcher for the Atlanta Braves, Jake Baldwin. In 2025, he batted 274 with an on-base of 341, slug of 469 for an OPS of 810, and a WRC plus of 125. He had 19 homers, 18 doubles, and 124 games played. He had a 3.1 F4 and a 3.3 B WAR. Drake Baldwin offensively was insane last year for a rookie catcher. Catchers, again, they're not great offensively all the time, but when you have a good offensive catcher, that makes it that much more valuable. He doesn't strike out very much, 84th percentile on that. His bat speed is elite at 91st percentile, and he was 67th percentile in barrel rate, giving him the ability to be 85th percentile in hard hit rate. He looks like one of the better offensive players in the game at the catcher position, and I think he can improve. As that was his rookie year, I can see him getting even better because his approach is pretty good. Also, defensively, not elite, -1 Statcast fielding run value, which was 45th percentile. He was a great blocker. But if you have an average to slightly below average defensive catcher who's elite offensively, you'll take that trade-off because offense is hard to come by. I have Baldwin above Kirk simply because I think Baldwin's ceiling is so high, and I think he could potentially be even better than this in 2026. At 48, I got first baseman for the Chicago Cubs, Michael Busch. In 2025, he batted 261 with a 343 on base, 523 slug for an OPS of 866 and WRC plus of 140. He hit 34 homers, 25 doubles, and 155 games, giving him a 3.5 F4 and a 4.6 B WAR. His barrel rate it was 95th percentile. His hard hit rate was 76th percentile, 82nd percentile in chase rate. So he's got a good approach and he barrels the ball up. That's the best way to be an elite hitter. He also pulls the ball at a 22.2% clip in the air, so he's able to hit those homers. That's why he hits 34 homers, despite not having elite bat speed, which was 16th percentile. So overall, a great hitter, Michael Busch. I have him at 48. At 47, I've got shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Mookie Betts. In 2025, he batted 258 with a 326 on base, 406 slug for an OPS of 732 and a WRC plus of 104. He had 20 homers, 23 doubles, and 150 games. He had 3.4 F4 and 4.9 B WAR. For the first time in his career, he was an elite defensive shortstop. It was interesting because he never had been that elite of a defensive shortstop. This was a huge down year for a guy who's been one of the best players in baseball for many years, and I don't know that he'll ever go back to being the MVP. But I do think there's going to be a bounce back. Mookie Betts has been so good that I can't just assume he's going to continue to be bad. And this isn't even bad. This is about an average season offensively. But for him, it's well below average. He lost 20 pounds, got sick right as opening day happened, and he never really got a chance to recover because he played through that. So I think with a full offseason, he can stay healthy. I can see an 800 to 850 OPS with continuing to play good defense at short. I do believe in Mookie Betts going into 2026. At 46, I've got starting pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, Logan Webb. In 2025, he had a 3.22 ERA, struck out 224 batters, had a 2.6 FIP, a 1.24 WHIP, and a 124 ERA plus in 207 innings pitched in 2025. He also had a 5.5 F4 and a 3.8 B WAR. This was a year where Logan Webb increased his strikeout percentage. It went from 29th percentile to 76th percentile in baseball and continued to keep the ball on the ground and not walk people. 91st percentile in ground ball rate and 91st percentile in walk rate. So he continued to do what he was already elite at for years and added the strikeouts in. He also has been a workhorse. He's one of the only pitchers in today's game that continuously is always throwing 200 innings plus. And another stat that leads me to believe that Logan Webb might be even better in 2026 than he was in 2025. His FIP was better than his ERA. His BABIP was a really high 349, and his career average is 318. So I'm assuming the opponent batting average will go back down 200. Logan Webb will probably throw another 200 innings pitched and will probably, again, be a top 3 to 5 finish in the Cy Young in the NL. At 45, I've got third baseman for the Chicago Cubs now, Alex Bregman. He batted 273 with a 360 on base, 462 slug for an OPS of 821 and WRC plus of 125. He had 18 homers, 28 doubles, in 114 games. He had a 3.5 F4 and a 3.5 B WAR. Bregman opted out of his deal with the Red Sox and went to the Cubs. His pulled air rate rose by 4% to 24.4. That's part of why the Red Sox stadium, Fenway Park, worked really well with his swing, and I think there could be some downturn in production because of that. I still think he's going to be good, but he might be more contact oriented rather than more power. Like I could see maybe 12 to 15 homer season, but his batting average might be closer to 300. He's got an elite approach. His chase rate was in 95th percentile. He doesn't swing and miss, and he doesn't really strike out, 88th percentile in K rate. So overall, I still think Alex Bregman is an elite player with great defense, a good offensive player. I could just see a slight downturn in production because of the stadium fit not being as great for him as Fenway Park. At 44, I've got first baseman for the Atlanta Braves, Matt Olson. In 2025, he batted .272 with a .366 on base, .484 slug for an OPS of .850 and a WRC plus of .136. He had 29 homers, 41 doubles in all 162 games. This was the fourth straight year he played 162 games. He had 4.7 F4 and a 6 B-WAR. I don't know that Matt Olson will ever return to the 54 homers, 993 OPS from 2023, but Matt Olson's still a really, really good hitter, barrels the ball, hits the ball hard, and walks a lot. He's a good defender at first. He's an all-around great player, and I truly believe he has a chance to be even better. His pulled fly ball rate was down from 21.4% to 16.1%. If he increases that pulled fly ball rate back up, I could see a 35-40 homer season from him. Maybe not close to that 1,000 OPS, but closer to a 900 OPS for Matt Olson in 2026. At 43, I've got starting pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, Jesus Luzardo. In 2025, he had a 3.92 ERA, 216 strikeouts, a 2.9 FIP, a 1.22 WHIP, and an 112 ERA plus at 183.2 innings. He had an F4 of 5.3 and a B-WAR of 3.9. Luzardo is a big example of why I like FIP for projections and F4 for projections. I think he's going to be one of the top pitchers in baseball. He was 86th percentile in strikeout rate, 87th percentile in whiff rate. So he strikes people out a lot, misses barrels, 78th percentile in barrel rate, 77th percentile in hard hit rate. So he doesn't give up many hard hits, and he strikes out a lot of people. His sweeper had a run value of 15. His changeup had a run value of 6. So I really, truly believe Luzardo will be closer to that FIP, if not even lower in 2026. And I think his peripherals, his FIP, everything showed that he is going to be an absolutely elite pitcher in the year of 2026. At 42, I've got left fielder for the Miami Marlins, Kyle Stowers. He batted .288 with a .368 on base, .544 slug for a really, really good .912 OPS and WRC plus of 149. He had 25 homers, 21 doubles in 117 games. He had a 4 F4 and a 3.6 B-WAR. Stowers had an absolute breakout year. I don't know that many people are expecting him to be this good in 2025. He was 98th percentile in barrel rate and 94th percentile in hard hit rate, and his bat speed was 88th percentile. So he swung the bat hard, barreled the ball up, which let him hit the ball hard, which is the best way. His pulled air percent also went from 10.1 to 23.7. That's why he was able to hit a lot more homers and be a great hitter. He does strike out a lot. He does swing and miss a lot, but that's not a problem. I mean, players like Kyle Schwarber do that. Byron Buxton's a guy that swings and misses, strikes out a lot, and they're still elite players in this game. The one thing that makes me want to pump the brakes on Stowers to say he's going to be an elite player was his BABIP was 356. Most players cannot sustain that as their BABIP their whole career. So my assumption would be there might be some downturn in production, but overall, I still think he'd be an 800 OPS, 850 OPS guy who hits 25 plus homers. At 41, I've got starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Blake Snell. In 2025, he had a 2.35 ERA. He had 72 strikeouts, a FIP of 2.69, a WHIP of 1.255, and an ERA plus of 177 and 61 in the third innings. He had a 1.9 F4 and a 1.3 B-WAR. Blake Snell has always been one of, if not the best pitchers in baseball. He's won 2 Cy Youngs, but he's always injured. He also walks a lot of people, but he strikes a lot of people out, gets swings and misses, gets chases, and he keeps the ball on the ground. He doesn't give up hard hits. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball at doing some of the most important stuff. He's got a 4-pitch arsenal that rarely, if ever, has negative run values, especially last season. I feel Snell would be much higher if his walk rate wasn't as high as it is. Like, I think he would be the best pitcher or third best pitcher or whatever in baseball. He'd be one of the top, but his walk rate does cause him to move down the list. If he stays healthy, I think he can be even better than the 41st best player in baseball. At number 40, I got right fielder for the Boston Red Sox, Roman Anthony. In 2025, he batted .292 with a .396 on base, .463 slug for an OPS of .859, and WRC plus of 140. Roman Anthony hit 8 homers, 18 doubles in just 71 games. He had a 2.7 F4 and a 3.1 B-WAR. So that's crazy that he would be probably a 6-WAR player, if not better, had he played the full year. He is one of the most promising young players in the game. He hits the ball hard. He barrels the ball up. He doesn't chase. He walks a lot. So I could see that he could be a top 10 player in baseball next year if he plays a full year. He does have a high K rate. He does swing and miss a lot, but that's not a worry of mine because a lot of players can do that. My actually main worry is his BABIP was 404. Nobody can stay at 404 their whole career. So I don't know that there's going to be a huge downturn in production because I think he might just get better at some other things. But that's one thing to keep an eye out for. But overall, Roman Anthony is one of the brightest young stars in the game today. At 39, I've got right fielder for the Chicago Cubs, Seiya Suzuki. In 2025, he batted 245 with a 326 on base, 478 slug, and an OPS of 804 for a WRC plus of 123. He hit 32 homers and 31 doubles in 151 games. He had a 2.6 F4 and a 2.6 B WAR. His WAR numbers were a little bit low because he plays more DH than right field. FanGraphs has him in right field with someone else at DH right now. 3 years in a row with an OPS 800 or higher. He has been a consistent great hitter. He barrels the ball 95th percentile. He doesn't chase, 93rd percentile chase, which leads to 78th percentile in walk rate. And he hits the ball hard, 82nd percentile in hard hit rate. He has been a great hitter since coming over from Japan, and I don't see that changing. I think he's going to continue to be an elite hitter. He's very proven, and I've got him at number 39 for the 2026 MLB season. At 38, I've got third baseman for the San Diego Padres, Manny Machado. In 2025, he batted 275 with a 335 on base, 460 slug for an OPS of 795 and a WRC plus of 123. He had 27 homers, 33 doubles, in 159 games. His F4 was 3.8 and his B WAR was 4.1. Manny Machado has been an Iron Man. He's played in 150 games or more every full year since joining the Padres, except 2023, where he still played 138 games, and it's not bad. Manny Machado still hits the ball really hard, 92nd percentile in hard hit rate, 81st percentile in barrel rate, and he's still 84th percentile in bat speed. So he hits the ball hard, he can hit homers, and he plays in a very pitcher-friendly park, which is why 795 OPS might be lower than other guys who have the same WRC plus as him. Last year was weird because it was the first year he was technically a bad defender, and that does happen sometimes with age, but I still fully believe in Manny Machado's offense and defense as one of the better players in the game. At 37, I've got catcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, William Contreras. In 2025, he batted 260 with a 355 on base, 399 slug for an OPS of 754 and WRC plus of 113. He had 17 homers, 28 doubles in 150 games. His F4 was 3.6 and his B WAR was 3.9. This was a down year for Contreras after back-to-back really good seasons in 23 and 24. And I think in large part due to that was because he broke a finger on his left hand, and it's hard to swing a bat when that happens. Even with all that, he was 73rd percentile in fielding, Statcast fielding run value, which was a 3. His hard hit rate was still 81st percentile. He still walked a lot. I'm banking on Contreras' bat speed, and everything will go back to his numbers from before he had to play through a big injury. He still was good, even with the injury. I think letting his finger fully heal going into 2026, he will be back to his 800 OPS or even 850 OPS at the catcher position. At 36, I've got third baseman for the Tampa Bay Rays, Junior Caminero. In 2025, he had a 264 batting average, 311 on base, 535 slug for 486 OPS, and a WRC plus of 129. He had 45 homers, 28 doubles in 154 games, 4.6 F4, and 4.4 B WAR. Caminero is one of the brightest young players in this game. He'll only be 22 going into next year. His bat speed is 100th percentile, meaning he swings the bat harder than anyone in the game. Hard hit rate was 91st percentile, barrel rate 87th percentile. So he is one of the best hitters in the game at hitting the ball hard, which is the best way to hit the baseball. I mean, he hit an outrageous 45 homers. And part of that is his pulled air percentage was 21.5%, which is the most efficient way to hit homers, and he hits the ball hard. I believe with Caminero being 22 next season, his BABIP was 260, which is very low. With a higher BABIP and another year of development, I can see Contreras really becoming a top 10 hitter in this game and potentially a top 10 player in this game. At 35, I've got left fielder for the Washington Nationals, James Wood. In 2025, he batted 256 with a 350 on base, 475 slug for an OPS of 825 and WRC plus of 127. He hit 31 homers, 38 doubles in 157 games. He had a 3.3 F4 and 3.7 B WAR. James Wood swings the bat really hard and hits the ball really hard. 98th percentile in hard hit rate, 94th percentile in barrel rate. He walks at 89th percentile. And his bat speed, again, as I said, 95th percentile. So he hits the ball really hard. And he's not a guy who pulls the ball, but he's big, so he can hit the ball at all fields. He hit 31 homers. He does strike out a lot, 2nd percentile in strikeout rate, 5th percentile in whiff rate. But you can still be a consistently really good hitter, even with those things. And as he gets older, he might be able to improve it. A guy like Aaron Judge did, but I'm not saying James Wood is Aaron Judge. My two worries is that Wood does not have a great defensive prowess, but again, if you're an elite offensive player, you can live with that. His BABIP was 350 which is unsustainable. But I could see a world where his BABIP is more of a 320 because of how hard he hits the ball, in which case it won't be too big of a dip in production there, especially as he's aging and his potential will be reached. I think he can have a similar season, if not even better, in 2026. At 34, I've got starting pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, Zach Wheeler. In 2025, he had a 2.71 ERA, 195 strikeouts, a 3.00 FIP, a .935 WHIP, a 163 ERA plus, and 149.2 innings pitched. He had a 4.0 F4 and a 5.0 B WAR. If Zach Wheeler did not have thoracic outlet syndrome and get that surgery, I would probably put him at 3 or 4 among pitchers. So right behind Scuball and Skeens, maybe behind Crochet, but that's where he would be. He's been one of, if not the best pitchers overall in the last few years. His 5 of his 6 pitches had a positive run value on Baseball Savant, and his Baseball Savant page is almost all red. Strikeout percentile, K percentile, 96th percentile. He doesn't walk people, 89th percentile. Gets swings and misses, 90th percentile. Keeps guys from getting hard hits, 92nd percentile in hard hit rate. And he's 76th percentile on fastball velo, but his extension is elite at 97th percentile. So Zach Wheeler, in my opinion, is the 3rd best pitcher in baseball. But my main worry is thoracic outlet surgery. Who knows how he's going to return from that? But him at 34 feels like maybe there'll be a downturn in production. He'll still be one of the most elite pitchers, but maybe not the exact same as he's always been. At 33, I've got another Philadelphia Philly, first baseman, Bryce Harper. In 2025, he batted .261 with a .357 on base, .487 slug for an OPS of .844 and a WRC plus of .131. He had 27 homers, 32 doubles, and 132 games. His F4 was 3.5 and his BWAR was 3.1. This is a down year for Bryce Harper, who's been one of the best players in baseball for a decade. It was his lowest WRC plus since 2019. David Dombrowski made a comment saying he's not elite. I truly believe in Bryce Harper. He's one of the best players in the game. He works hard. He's got everything. His peripherals are still great. 77th percentile in barrel rate, 77th percentile in hard hit rate, and his bat speed's still 81st percentile. So if he continues to barrel the ball and keeps this bat speed, he'll continue to be elite. His whiff rate was 13th percentile and chase rate was 11th. But I will say that's been similar to his profile a lot of his career, and it's worked. While Harper will be 33 next season, and the aging curve say he's may be on the decline, I still think Bryce Harper may even have a better year in 2026 than he had in 2025 because he's going to work so hard to get there. At 32, I've got first baseman for the San Francisco Giants, Rafael Devers. In 2025, he had a .252 batting average, .372 on base, and a .479 slug for an OPS of .851 and a WRC plus of .135. He had 35 homers, 33 doubles, and played 163 games because of the trade from Boston, which was a really weird situation last year. He had a 3.3 F4 and a 4.1 B WAR. He kind of struggled with the Giants at first, but he ended up with an .807 OPS with the Giants. Overall, it was a really weird year because of the situation with the Red Sox, and now he might be playing first base for the Giants next year. Devers, all of his Baseball Savant, at least he continues to be what he's always been. Barrel rate, 94th percentile, hard hit rate, 97th percentile, and he walks a lot, 98th in walk rate. So he does strike out a lot more than he used to, but he walks way more. He's more of a three true outcome guy, but even then, he's still one of the best hitters in the game. You can always say like 800 OPS or higher, 850 OPS and 30 plus homers and a WAR around 4. He's always good for that, and I believe he will do that again in 2026. At 31, I've got starting pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, Chris Sale. In 2025, he had a 2.58 ERA, 165 strikeouts, a FIP of 2.67, and a WHIP of 1.066, and an ERA plus of 161 and 125.2 innings. His F4 was 3.6, his BWAR was 4. My biggest worry for Chris Sale has always been his injury history, and he will be 37 in 2026. But his peripherals and everything he did last year point towards he's the same pitcher he's always been. His Savant page was mostly red. His K percentage was 95th percentile. He doesn't really walk many people. He doesn't give up a lot of hard hits. I think a lot of what makes him really good is his stuff is really good. He's got a weird arm angle, but I don't see any reason why if Chris Sale does stay healthy, because these lists are mostly based on if everyone stays healthy, where are they going to be? I think Chris Sale could be one of the best pitchers in baseball. He won a Cy Young the last time he was fully healthy. I can see him winning one again next year. He just needs to stay healthy. That's the main thing. Overall, he's a great, great pitcher. At number 30, I've got starting pitcher for the Houston Astros, Hunter Brown. In 2025, he had a 2.43 ERA, a 3.14 FIP, a 1.025 WHIP, 206 strikeouts, and an ERA plus of 172 and 185.1 innings. His F4 was 4.6, and his BWAR was 6.1. This is an example of the FIP being higher than the ERA, and that's why the WAR is better for BWAR. He had a breakout season in 2025, which I predicted. I thought he was one of the best pitchers in the second half of 2024. He carried that into 2025. His hard hit rate is 97th percentile. His average exit velo is also 97th percentile, so he doesn't really give up that many hard hits. He strikes out people 85th percentile, keeps the ball on the ground, throws the ball hard. 96.2 is his average fastball miles per hour. His fastball had a run value of 17. His curveball had a run value of 9. He's an elite pitcher with elite stuff, and I've always predicted this to be the case since his 2024 second half. He kind of had one lucky thing. He had a 264 BABIP. Even if the BABIP goes back to league average, which is the expectation, his ERA will still be around 3, and I think he can still improve because he's still a young pitcher. And Hunter Brown is an elite pitcher in this game. At 29, I've got first baseman for the Baltimore Orioles, Pete Alonso. In 2025, he batted 272 with a 347 on base, 524 slug for an OPS of 871, and a WRC plus of 141. He played all 162 games, hit 38 homers, 41 doubles, and he had an F WAR of 3.6 and a B WAR of 3.4. Pete Alonso had one of the best seasons of his career, and I think part of that might have been because he was hitting behind Juan Soto, so he was getting a little bit more pitches to hit, but the savant data doesn't show that he was getting the approach to Pete Alonso was so much different than throughout his career. Yes, his defense isn't that good, but he's one of the best hitters in baseball and has been for a while. And I also do believe that what he did in 2025 is sustainable. His barrel rate was 98th percentile, his hard hit rate was 96th percentile, and he was 40th percentile or higher in K rate, walk rate, whiff rate, and chase rate. So his approach was very good, and he's one of the most decorated power hitters we currently have in this game. At 28, I've got left fielder for the Texas Rangers, Wyatt Langford. In 2025, he batted 241 with a 344 on base, 431 slug for an OPS of 775 and a WRC plus of 118. He had 22 homers, 22 steals, 25 doubles in 134 games. He had a 4.1 F WAR and a 5.6 B WAR. Let's start with his fielding. He had a fielding run value of 9, which was 91st percentile, and his sprint speed was 88th percentile. So he's an elite defender out there in the outfield, and he runs very fast, which makes him a pretty good base runner. He also barrels the ball at 87th percentile. His hard hit rate was 81st percentile. He doesn't chase very much, 80th percentile, so it gave him a 90th percentile walk rate. So overall, he's got a great approach. He hits the ball hard. He also had a pulled fly ball rate of 24.2%. So that allowed him to hit 22 homers. I could see him hitting even more in 2026 as he continues to improve. I think he has the potential to next year have an OPS in the mid to high 8s, like an 850 to an 880 OPS, and have a 30-30 season with 30 homers, 30 stolen bases, or even 30 homers, 30 doubles, 30 homers, 30 doubles, and 30 stolen bases. I got Wyatt Langford taking a huge leap in 2026. At 27, I've got center fielder for the Seattle Mariners, Julio Rodriguez. In 2025, he had a 267 batting average, 324 on base, 474 slug for an OPS of 798 and a WRC plus of 126. He had 32 homers, 31 doubles, and 30 stolen bases in 160 games. His F WAR was 5.7. His B WAR was 6.8. He is one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball, best defensive players in general. At 10 Statcast fielding runs was 92nd percentile. It's very, very difficult to find a guy who can hit 30 homers and play elite defense in a very important spot on the field. My main thing with Julio is he's a very slow starter, and there are some things that worry me. Chase rate was 10th percentile, but overall, he still hits the ball really hard, which is 80th percentile. So I'm not worried about Julio Rodriguez. I think he will continue to be an 800 OPS guy, hit about 30 homers, and play elite defense, which is an absolutely elite player. I could even be underrating him here going into 2026. I just don't know if there's another level to him or this is just who he is, which is an elite player, but not top 10 in my opinion. At 26, I've got starting pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, Christopher Sanchez. In 2025, he had a 2.50 ERA, 212 strikeouts, a FIP of 2.55, a WHIP of 1.064, and 202 innings pitched. He had a 6.4 F WAR and an 8 B WAR. Sanchez had a crazy breakout year. I don't know how many people were truly expecting him to be this good. He has a great 3-pitch mix. His sinker had a run value of 19. His changeup had a run value of 18. That's an elite 2-pitch mix. His ground ball rate was 96th percentile. In large part due to he had those 2 pitches that go right off the barrel, leading him to 87th percentile in barrel rate. He doesn't walk people, 89th percentile on that. And he was 77th percentile in K rate. So he gets strikeouts, he gets the ball on the ground. And I think he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He clearly showed that. And for me, Sanchez is lower than numbers say because I'm nervous about maybe a 3-pitch mix. It might be a stupid thing, but that's why Yamamoto is higher. Yamamoto has 6 pitches. If Sanchez is off one night with his sinker, that's it. He's not going to have a good game. With a guy like Yamamoto or Screwball, who throws a lot of pitches, or Skeens, where they can have a pitch that doesn't work that day and they can adjust. Christopher Sanchez only throws 3 pitches. So if his sinker or his changeup isn't working, it's a bad game for him. But overall, I still think Christopher Sanchez is going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball again in 2026. At 25, I've got first baseman for the New York Yankees, Ben Rice. At 2025, he had a 255 batting average, 337 on base, 499 slug, for an OPS of 836 and a WRC plus of 133. He had 26 homers, 28 doubles, and 138 games played. He had a 3 F4 and a 2.3 B WAR. Ben Rice might be a shocking, controversial ranking. He's very high, way higher than MLB.com has him. But his savant page is so good. Average exit velo, 95th percentile. Barrel rate, 92nd percentile. Hard hit rate, 97th. And chase rate was 91st percentile. So he doesn't chase. He's got a great approach. And he hits the ball harder than almost anyone in baseball. Part of that is his bat speed was up 2 miles per hour from his 2024 total. He also started to pull the ball at a 25.2% clip. So that's why he hit 26 homers. And I can see him hitting even more. This is where I believe Ben Rice will be in OPS in the mid-9s, like a 950 OPS or higher next year. I could see him hitting 30, even 40 homers with that pull fly ball rate in Yankee Stadium. Hits the ball super hard. This is a shocking ranking, I would say. Something that I'm just taking a shot. I think he will be one of the best hitters in baseball in 2026. At 24, I've got first baseman for the Athletics, Nick Kurtz. In 2025, he had a 290 batting average, 383 on base, 619 slugging for an OPS of 1002 and a WRC plus of 170. He had a ridiculous 36 homers, 26 doubles, and 117 games, giving him a 4.6 F4 and a 5.4 B WAR. This is one of the best offensive seasons we've seen from a rookie. It's very Yordan Alvarez-like from 2019. His barrel rate was 98th percentile. His hard hit rate was 92nd percentile. And he's got a great approach for someone who is as young as he is. Chase rate, 86th percentile. He walks a lot, 90th percentile. And his bat speed is elite at 98th. That's what allowed him to hit the ball so hard. Yes, he does strike out. Yes, he does whiff. But he's got a very similar offensive profile to Kyle Schwarber. And Kyle Schwarber, I have ranked above Nick Kurtz because of Schwarber has shown he can do it for years. But if Kurtz continues to be the exact same type of player, he'd be a top 10 player in the game. I'm just being a little cautious. His BABIP was 364, so I would like to see a little bit more of a sustainable BABIP, but I still think he's going to be the next generation of great hitters. He's going to be one of the best hitters in baseball, potentially for a decade plus. At 23, I've got shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles, Gunnar Henderson. In 2025, he batted 274 with a 349 on base, 438 slug for an OPS of 787 and a WRC plus of 120. He hit 17 homers, 34 doubles, stole 30 bases in 154 games. His F4 was 4.8, and his B WAR was 5.3. 2025 was definitely a down year. He had an 893 OPS in 2024, and he hit 37 homers. But I still truly believe Henderson is one of the best shortstops in the game. His hard hit rate was still 84th percentile. His bat speed still 92nd percentile. He's not a bad hitter. He still had a great year, and I think that this might be the worst year of his career, or the worst year he has over the next decade. This is an example of name value and previous performance before 2025, making me, and the position value of him playing shortstop, making me rank him maybe higher than his 2025 numbers would say. At 22, I've got starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. In 2025, he had a 2.49 ERA, struck out 201 batters, had a FIP of 2.94, a WHIP of .990, and an ERA plus of 167 and 173.2 innings pitched. He had an F WAR of 5 and a B WAR of 4.9. All those numbers don't even mention the fact that in the playoffs, he had 2 complete games. He got the win in Game 7 of the World Series, and in Game 6 and in Game 7 of the World Series. So he got the World Series MVP. Maybe part of the reason he's so high is because of his playoff performance, but I do think that should matter. He still struck out people at a high clip all season, 89th percentile. He misses barrels, 87th percentile. Keeps the ball on the ground, 91st percentile. Yes, he walked, but his whip was still, he walked a lot of players, but his whip was still below 1, which is elite. He's got positive run value on 6 pitches. His fastball was a 17. His splitter was a 9. His cutter was a 7. Like, he had 6 positive pitches. His pitch arsenal is elite. And I just think Yamamoto is one of the best pitchers in the game, and he proved that in the playoffs last year. At 21, I've got catcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Will Smith. In 2025, he had a 296 batting average, 404 on base, 497 slug for an OPS of 901 and a WRC plus of 153. He had 17 homers, 20 doubles, and 110 games. He had 4.1 F WAR and 4.5 B WAR. Will Smith might not be this high because this is his best offensive season by far if he didn't play catcher, but this elite offensive season from a guy who plays catcher who has proven to be a great offensive player. But his savant page shows that he can continue to do this again next year. His barrel rate was 76th percentile, hard hit rate was 75th. He doesn't chase, so he walks in the 96th percentile. He doesn't really strike out so much. The one thing that maybe is like, okay, I don't know that he can continue doing this is his BABIP was a 345 and his career BABIP is 285. I still do believe his OPS will be in the eights next year, 850 plus. He'll hit 15 plus homers, be a good defensive catcher, good enough defensive catcher, and he will be about this area again going into 2027. But that's why I think he will be the 21st best player. At number 20, I've got center fielder for the Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton. In 2025, he batted 264 with a 327 on base, 551 slug for an OPS of 878, and a WRC plus of 136. He had 35 homers, stole 24 bases in 126 games. He had a 5.4 F4 and a 4.9 B WAR. Byron Buxton's biggest issue has always been staying healthy. He's always been an elite player in this game, and he finally did that in 2025. And if he continues to do that in 2026, he will be a top 20 player. He's consistently had great speed and hits the ball hard. He was 96th percentile in hard hit rate and barrel rate last year. His speed has always been elite. His defense has always been great. The only knock on his game is that he gets injured. Overall, though, as long as he stays healthy, Byron Buxton is one of the top players in Major League Baseball. At 19, I've got shortstop for the New York Mets, Francisco Lindor. In 2025, he batted 267 with a 346 on base, 466 slug for an OPS of 811, and a WRC plus of 129. He hit 31 homers, stole 31 bases in 160 games. His F4 was 6.3, and his B WAR was 5.9. My main concern with Lindor is that his barrel rate and hard hit rates are still pretty good, but they're not elite, and they've declined. His barrel rate was down 4.8%, and his hard hit rate was down 3%. To me, it's slightly concerning, but I'm not too worried. Defensively, Lindor has always been one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. He continued to do that last year with 72nd percentile in fielding run value on StatCast. So I truly believe Francisco Lindor can continue to be an elite defensive shortstop, continue to be a great hitter. I'm banking on his history of being a great hitter. He's never really had a down year. So Francisco Lindor is still one of the most elite players in the game. At 18, I've got DH for the Philadelphia Phillies, Kyle Schwarber. In 2025, he batted 240 with a 365 on base, 563 slug with an OPS of 928 and a WRC plus of 152. He had 56 homers, all while playing every single game at a 162. He had an F4 of 4.9 and a B WAR of 4.7. It might be crazy to rank a DH as high as I'm ranking Kyle Schwarber, but he has a proven track record, and he just had his best year of his career. His pulled air percentage was a 31.1, which is a career high. That helped him hit more homers. His hard hit rate was 100th percentile. His barrel rate was 90th percentile. His chase rate was also 90th percentile, so he walks a lot at 97th. Yes, he strikes out. Yes, he swings and misses, but he's still one of the best players in the game, still gets on base in an elite clip because of his walks. I truly believe Kyle Schwarber is one of the best hitters in baseball, and that's why he's here at 18. 17, I've got shortstop for the Texas Rangers, Corey Seager. In 2025, he batted 271 with a 373 on base, 487 slug for an OPS of 860, and a WRC plus of 138. He had 21 homers, 19 doubles in just 102 games. He had a 4.0 F4 and a 6.1 B WAR. The main issue with Corey Seager is he struggles to stay healthy, but even then, he's one of the most elite hitters in the game, and he plays shortstop at a positive defensive value for the last couple years. And his barrel rates and his hard hit rates are elite, 95th percentile in hard hit rate, 92nd percentile in barrel rate, and his walk rate's 93rd percentile. So Corey Seager overall is an elite hitter no matter what position he plays. Then he plays shortstop. So he is one of the best players in baseball. At 16, I've got starting pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, Garrett Crochet. In 2025, he had a 2.59 ERA. He struck out 255 batters, a FIP of 2.89, a WHIP of 1.028, and an ERA plus of 159. He had a 5.8 F4 and a 6.3 B WAR. If Tarek Skubal didn't exist, Garrett Crochet would have won Cy Young. He had an elite Cy Young caliber season. His savant page is literally only red. He's got 93rd percentile on strikeout rate, 87th percentile on walk rate, which means he's one of the best guys at striking people out. He doesn't walk people. He gets chases in the 90th percentile. Weirdly enough, his four-seam fastball had a -8 run value, even though he throws really hard. It's because his fastball has the average fastball movement profile. But it doesn't really matter because his other three pitches had a run value of 10 or higher, with his cutter having a 10 and his sweeper and sinker both having a 15. So Garrett Crochet is definitively, in my opinion, the third best pitcher in the game, and he is here at 16 for me. At 15, I've got right fielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Kyle Tucker. In 2025, he batted .266 with a .377 on base, a .464 slug for an OPS of .841 and a WRC plus of .136. He had 22 homers, 25 stolen bases, 25 doubles in 136 games. He had a 4.5 F4 and a 4.6 B WAR. The talk of the town is that he just joined the Dodgers, and this was a down year last year after a .993 OPS in 2024. Tucker has always kind of been a little injury prone, but last year he played through an injury, and that's where there were some struggles. His chase rate was still 98th percentile. His walk rate was still 96th. His K rate was still 85th percentile. So he walks. He doesn't really strike out too much. He's got a very, very great approach. And his barrel and heart hit rates may have been down because of the injury. That's what my opinion would be. I think his career averages can go back up to his career averages. And also, he's going to be joining an elite Dodgers offense where he might see more pitches to hit and have a career year in 2026. At 14, I've got starting pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Paul Skeens. In 2025, he had a 1.97 ERA, a 216 strikeouts, a FIP of 2.36, a WHIP of .948, and an ERA plus of 217 in 187.2 innings. Paul Skeens is one of the best pitchers in the game. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if you thought he was better than Tarik Skubal. I think these are two of the best pitchers the two best pitchers in baseball right now, and they're very close. They're neck and neck. His F4 was 6.5, and his B WAR was 7.6. I don't know why I necessarily have Skubal over Skeens. I just do. Skeens' savant page is good and mostly red. K percentage, 89th percentile. Walk rate, 87th percentile. So he strikes people out, doesn't really walk them. And he throws the ball really hard at 98.1 miles per hour on average on his fastball. He has a 23 run value on his fastball. His sweeper and changeup both had a 9. Not to mention his splitter and sinker are both really good pitches. Overall, Paul Skeens is so elite. He won the Cy Young last year. He's still really young. He is going to be potentially this generation's Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander with how young he is and how elite he already is. At 13, I've got starting pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, Tarik Skubal. In 2025, he had an ERA of 2.21, a FIP of 2.45. He struck out 241 batters. He had a WHIP of .891, and he had an ERA plus of 187 in 195.1 innings. He had a 6.1 F4 and a 6.6 B WAR. Tarik Skubal is consensus the top pitcher in baseball. It's between him and Skeens. I have Tarik Skubal as the best pitcher in baseball for me. His savant page is mostly red, 94th percentile strikeout rate, 97th percentile in walk rate, so he's one of the best in those. He doesn't even allow the ball to get hit very hard, 95th percentile in hard hit rate. He gets chases, he gets swings and misses. His changeup had a run value of 25, and his four-seam fastball had a run value of 12. He's just got an insane pitch arsenal. He strikes people out, doesn't walk, doesn't allow hard hits. He rarely allows any guy is on base with one of the most elite whips I've ever seen. Tarik Skubal, to me, is the best pitcher in baseball, and it's crazy, back-to-back Cy Youngs. At 12, I've got second baseman for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Ketel Marte. In 2025, he batted .283 with a .376 on base, .517 slug for an .893 OPS, and a WRC plus of 145. He had 28 homers, 28 doubles, and he had in 126 games, he had a 4.6 F4 and a 4.4 B WAR. Ketel Marte is by far the best second baseman in baseball, but even if he wasn't just at second base, he would still be an elite player. Last year, he doesn't really strike out. He walks a decent amount. His barrel rate was 83rd percentile, and he doesn't really chase or swing and miss much. So he's an all-around elite offensive player. He's not the best base runner or defender, but he's one of the best all-around hitters in baseball. He's a good enough defender at second base, and he's been a similar hitter the last 3 years. I believe he will repeat that again in 2026. At number 11, matching his jersey number, I've got third baseman for the Cleveland Guardians, Jose Ramirez. In 2025, he batted .283 with a .360 on base, .503 slugging for an OPS of 863 and WRC plus of 133. He had 30 homers, 44 stolen bases, and 34 doubles, which was his second straight season of 30-30-40, which I believe he was the first person ever to do that. He did that in 158 games, had a 6.3 F4 and a 5.8 B WAR. Jose Ramirez is the best third baseman in baseball. He's one of the most consistent players in baseball. And he's here at 11. Like, he is technically probably a top 10 player in the game. But every year he ends up around this spot. It's just different guys above him. My main worry with Jose Ramirez, he doesn't necessarily hit the ball super hard or swing the bat that fast compared to people or barrel the ball, but it's not much different than his career averages. He's always pulled the ball in the air very well, which allows him to hit homers like he hit 30 last year. because they've been in the low 20s or high 20s, low 30s throughout his career. Jose Ramirez might be a little bit lower on my list because the people above him hit the ball harder and have the potential to be better. But he's the model of consistency. He's one of the best players in baseball. He runs the bases hard. He's overall one of the best players. He's just here at 11. To kick off my top 10, at number 10, I've got catcher for the Seattle Mariners, Cal Raleigh. In 2025, he batted .247 with a .359 on base, a .589 slug for a .948 OPS, a WRC plus of 161, and he hit 60 homers in 159 games. He had a 9.1 F4 and a 7.3 B-WAR. This is one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. Definitely the greatest season we've ever seen out of a catcher. 60 homers and a 161 WRC plus from a catcher is elite. It's insane. He's also a switch hitter. He's also an elite defender. He won Platinum Glove in 2024. A great defensive catcher. Kyle Raleigh does strike out a lot, 14th percentile in K rate, 10th percentile in whiff rate. But again, you can still be a great hitter, and that's not a problem. I still think Kyle Raleigh is an elite top player. If we were ranking people who had 2025 seasons, he would be probably number 3. But I don't think he'll be able to repeat the insane 2025. That's just unrealistic expectations for him. His pulled fly ball rate was 38.4%. That really aided his 60 homer season. I don't know that he can keep that as a 38.4% pulled air percentage, but maybe he can. I do still truly believe he will be a WRC plus guy in the 130s or 140s, which will put him at number 10 in the MLB for 2026. At number 9, I've got designated hitter / left fielder for the Houston Astros, Yordan Alvarez. In 2025, he had a .273 batting average, .367 on base, .430 slug for an OPS of 797 and a WRC plus of 118. He played 48 games. His F4 was 0.5 and his B-WAR was 0.7. He only hit 6 homers. He wasn't like an elite player in 2025. But his career OPS going into 2025 was at 973, and he had an injury-riddled season. And his StatCast data doesn't look any different than throughout his career. I just truly believe Yordan Alvarez is one of the best hitters in baseball, a top 5 hitter in baseball. And with this being a down year, I think he will rebound and have a 1,000 OPS type season and become, again, firmly one of the top players in the game. At number 8, I've got first baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. At 2025, he batted .292 with a .381 on base, .467 slug for an OPS of 848 and a WRC plus of 137. He had 23 homers, 34 doubles, and he had an amazing postseason. In the regular season, he played 156 games. He had a 3.9 F4 and a 4.5 B-WAR. Again, his playoffs was insane. He had an elite playoffs, almost led the Blue Jays to a world championship. He doesn't strike out, 90th percentile. He walks a bunch, 87th percentile, and he hits the ball harder than almost anybody in the league at the 90th percentile. He also doesn't chase very much. He's got an elite approach. He hits the ball harder than almost anybody. Yes, Vladdy had amazing numbers in 2025, but I think he could have another season like he did in 2021 where he had an 1,002 OPS and hit 48 homers. I can see that type of season again. He just has to get the ball in the air a little bit more, and I truly believe that Guerrero can do that and will do that in 2026. At number 7, I've got right fielder for the Atlanta Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr. In 2025, he batted .290 with a .417 on base, a .518 slug for an OPS of 935 and a WRC plus of 161. He hit 21 homers in only 95 games, which is an insane amount. His F4 was 3.5. His B-WAR was 3.1. He's so elite. He's such an elite hitter. For his MVP season, he had a WRC plus of 171. He was only 10% lower than that. His sprint speed is only 0.1 feet per second slower than his 73 steal season when he won MVP. So I do truly believe we might see some more base running out of him. Yes, his defense isn't very good, but offensively, hard hit rate was 94th percentile. Walk rate's 99th percentile. He doesn't really chase. Barrel rate's 93rd percentile. Overall, Ronald Acuna Jr. is one of the best hitters in the game. I think you're going to see some more speed out of him next year. And overall, one of the best players in baseball. At number 6, I've got right fielder for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll. In 2025, he batted .259 with a .343 on base, .541 slug for an OPS of 883 and a WRC plus of 139. He had 31 homers, 32 stolen bases, and he hit an outrageous 17 triples in 143 games. His F4 was 6.5 and his B-WAR was 5.8. Corbin Carroll is one of the best hitters in baseball. He had a little bit of a down start to 2024, but since the All-Star break in 2024, he's been elite. And I think it's because he was recovering from a shoulder injury. He has elite hard hit rates. He's 100th percentile in base running value, while his sprint speed is 98th percentile. He also had a 10 OAA, which ranked 97th percentile. So he's an elite defender out there and right. He's the best base runner in baseball. And A big reason for that improvement in homers from 22 to 31 is his pulled air percentage went from 16.6% to 22.9%. So he's more efficient in the power department. He hits the ball hard. He plays elite defense, has elite speed. Overall, one of the best players, like with all aspects of the game. And that's why Corbin Carroll's all the way up here at number 6 for me for the 2026 season. At number 5, I've got right fielder for the San Diego Padres, Fernando Tatis Jr. In 2025, he had a 268 batting average, 368 on base, 446 slug for an OPS of 814, and WRC plus of 131. He had 25 homers and stole 32 bases in 155 games. He had an F WAR of 6.1 and a B WAR of 5.9. Tatis has some of the best savant pages, hits the ball really hard, 93rd percentile on hard hit percentage. He also walks, 90th percentile on that. He also is an elite defender in right field at 94th percentile in OAA. He's a great base runner. He is an elite all-around player. He's elite at every aspect of the game. He hasn't returned to those pre-PED suspension numbers, but I truly believe he will do that next year. He will have a 30-plus homer season, 900 OPS or better, and he will firmly be a top 5 player going into 2027. Number 4, I've got right fielder for the New York Mets, Juan Soto. In 2025, he batted 263 with an on-base of 396 and a slug of 525 for an OPS of 921 and WRC plus of 156. He had a career high in homers and in stolen bases. He had 43 homers and 38 stolen bases in 160 games. He had a 5.8 F4 and a 6.2 B WAR. Yeah, his defense is pretty atrocious in right field, but in my opinion, he is the second best hitter in baseball behind Aaron Judge. He's elite at a lot of things. He was 100th percentile in chase rate and walk rate. He has the best eye in baseball, 97th percentile in barrel rate and hard hit rate. So he hits the ball hard, almost as hard as anybody. He has the best eye in baseball, so he's always getting on base. Soto has been one of the best hitters in the league for years, and I don't see that changing at all going into 2026. At number 3, I've got shortstop for the Kansas City Royals, Bobby Witt Jr. In 2025, he batted 295 with a 351 on base, 501 slug for an OPS of 852 and a WRC plus of 130. He had 23 homers and 38 stolen bases in 157 games. He had an 8.0 F4 and a 7.1 B WAR. The OPS was still elite, down from his 977 in 2024, but he still hits the ball about as hard, plays elite defense, and has 100th percentile sprint speed, so he's the fastest runner in baseball. So he does every aspect of Major League Baseball elite. He is the best defensive shortstop in baseball. If not the best, he's one of the best. He's one of the best hitters in baseball, and doing that at the shortstop position puts him at number 3. Number 2, I've got right fielder for the New York Yankees, Aaron Judge. At 2025, he batted 331, had an on-base of 457, a slug of 688 for an outrageous OPS of 1144, and a WRC plus at 204, 104% better than the league average hitter. He had 53 homers in 152 games with a 10.1 F4 and a 9.7 B WAR. Aaron Judge is the best hitter I have ever seen play. He was 100th percentile in XWOA, expected batting average, expected slug, average exit velo, barrel rate, and walk rate, and he was 99th percentile in hard hit rate. He has been the best hitter in baseball for 3 years. He is so unbelievably insane. I don't know the next time we'll see a hitter as good as Aaron Judge, and he would be at number 1 if the number 1 player didn't do both pitching and hitting. At number 1, I got two-way player for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani. In 2025, he batted 282 with a 392 on base, a 699 slug for his 1014 OPS. His WRC plus was 172. He had 55 homers, stole 20 bases in 158 games. With those numbers alone, he would be a top 10 quality player in the MLB. But if you add in the fact that he pitched 47 innings to a 2.87 ERA, a 1.9 FIP, an ERA plus of 145, and he had a 33.2% strikeout rate and a 4.3% walk rate, which are both elite and some of the best in the game, he is by far the best player in baseball. The assumption is he will pitch over 100 innings next year, so he will be an elite pitcher and an elite hitter for the full season. Last year, he had a 9.4 F4, 7.5 of that went towards hitting, 1.9 of that went towards pitching, and his B WAR was 7.7, with 6.6 going towards hitting and 1.1 going towards pitching. Overall, this is the best talent I've ever seen on a field, and it's crazy how he's doing both elite. He would be great if he did both average, but he's one of the best hitters and one of the best pitchers in baseball. That's a wrap for the 2026 Guy McChands 74, and thank you for watching.